Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Faizan here, and I'm back with another match preview and prediction, and this time for Novak Djokovic versus Matteo Berrettini in round one of the Qatar Open. An interesting matchup despite the head-to-head being one-sided. Novak Djokovic leads it 4-0, but they haven't played since 2021. We're going to break down the head-to-head, strategically what might happen, and ultimately, of course, I'll give you guys my prediction. Before we do get into it though, remember that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you are listening on a podcast platform. Thank you to our subscribers and our members on YouTube. You guys are legends, of course. So the head-to-head, as I said, is 4-0 in favor of Djokovic. But what I think needs to be said is that 3 of those 4 matches were in 2021, and those 3 matches were all at Grand Slam. So 1 at Roland Garros, 1 at Wimbledon, and 1 at the US Open. Berrettini probably was sick of seeing Djokovic at Grand Slams because 3 out of his 4 losses, eventual losses at Grand Slams, were to Novak. Quarterfinals of Roland Garros, final of Wimbledon, and then quarterfinal of the US Open. And that, of course, was a year where Djokovic won 3 out of the 4 slams, so 2 of those matches at Roland Garros and Wimbledon. He then, of course, went on to win the title in those respective Grand Slams. And he agonizingly lost out in the final of the US Open, 1 game away from the Canada Slam. The other victory for Novak came at the ATP Tour Finals in 2019 when he beat Matteo Berrettini very, very convincingly in straight sets. One thing I want to point out though, and it's very worth, I think it's definitely worth speaking about, is that Berrettini has taken a set in every match that they've played since that Turin matchup, or since that Nitto ATP final, even matchup, because it was in 2019, so that would have been at the O2. So, 4-set wins for Djokovic in those 3 wins in 2021. And I think there's something that could be taken from that. Djokovic, at the time in 2021, I think it's fair to say was a better player than he is now. Is that fair to say? I think so. For Berrettini, I'm not sure if he is a better player, but I would like to say he's maybe not a worse player. I think he's lacking a bit of confidence, no doubt, and he hasn't had the best start to the year. If we look at his year so far, he hasn't looked great. In terms of results anyway, 3-set loss to Jordan Thompson in Brisbane. Australian Open, lost to Holger Rune in, albeit a very close match. Rune took the match in 4 sets, and 2 of those 3 sets that he won were from tiebreakers. So Berrettini, you could say a little bit unfortunate, very hard fought win for the Dane. Rotterdam, also a very tight match, lost to home favourite Talon Griekspoor, who seems to redline in Rotterdam, and he lost that one 6-3, 6-7, 7-6. Again, yeah, a tiebreaker involved there as well. For Djokovic, it's been a pretty good start to the year, I think it's fair to say, of course. By his standards, he's normally used to winning titles, and that hasn't quite come yet. But he has looked, I would say, near his best, especially during parts of the Australian Open. In Brisbane, he made the quarterfinals, lost to Opelka, and that was a great win by Riley Opelka, really inspired. Then made the semi-finals of Australia in Melbourne and lost eventually to Zverev, although it was the first that he lost, then he retired due to injury. He had beaten Carlos Alcaraz in the quarterfinals in a really impressive match where he had suffered a hamstring tear. And that leads me nicely on to the physical condition of Novak. And that could be a big factor in this match because he's also playing doubles the day before with Fernando Verdasco, who will be retiring after this tournament in Doha. And Novak, in my opinion anyway, and well, for my thought process was that he was going to be out a lot longer after the Australian Open. He suffered a hamstring tear. He obviously pulled out the Zverev match. There are a lot of people saying that it could be a couple of months even. It's only been a matter of weeks, and he's back in action. So, yeah, I mean, very positive if you're a Novak fan or if you're just a general tennis fan, because you're going to get to see the best player of all time play some tennis, which is great, and it could potentially be his last season. We're not sure. The other positive news is that Andy Murray will be continuing to coach him up until at least Wimbledon. However, it is going to be interesting to see how the hamstring holds up after doubles with Verdasco, and then he'll play back to back, of course, because he'll play singles with and against Berrettini the next day. If I was Berrettini, I would be really trying to, and it's a difficult one because you don't want to force your physicality on someone if that's not really your strength. And I feel like with Berrettini, that's probably not his strength. So, but at the same time, I think he should be trying to get him stretching, and he'll do that anyway by playing an aggressive brand of tennis, and that will test out the hamstring, and really we'll be able to see where it's at. Look, I mean, Berrettini on paper, this isn't a great matchup. He's a big server, big forehand. Djokovic tends to eat these types of players for breakfast, if I'm being honest. Excuse me. And that's why historically the head-to-head is what it is. But he might be catching Novak in a vulnerable spot. It's the first round. He tends to take a little bit of time to get used to tournament conditions, and especially after coming back from injury. Berrettini, if he comes out all like firing on all cylinders and he plays some really good tennis, he has a chance here. And that means we know how potent the serve can be. He's going to have to serve big into corners, make sure that he's varying it up as well into Novak, into the body, I would suggest at times, and ensure that Novak is not being able to comfortably return the serve and also get big inroads into a majority of the return games, so that Berrettini has some breathing space. And then he'll have to be proactive on the forehand, especially with that +1 forehand. That's going to be key to step on the gas. And then in the return games, try and put some pressure on Novak as well. That's going to be key because Berrettini's returning is not the best. And if he's not able to put pressure on Novak's service games, then he's going to feel like it's constantly always on him to try and hold serve if Novak whizzes through his games. I think coming to the net's going to be a big component as well. He's got great hands at the net, Berrettini. He's got a really good drop shot as well. So I think he should be utilising both of those to add some variety, really push Novak and try and make him feel a little bit uncomfortable, I think. If they trade from the baseline, it's not going to be in favour of Berrettini. He needs to be going big from the baseline and then trying to force an error, a winner, or coming forward to the net. That to me is the key. And then maybe dragging Novak forward with a drop shot. So that's going to be a big thing. And also, I think for Berrettini, he needs to avoid the backhand to backhand exchange. His backhand is not strong enough to hold up against Novak. And he will most likely employ the slice a lot, which is one of the best slices on tour. But I don't think it necessarily hurts Novak too much. So the forehand is going to be the biggest key. But in my opinion, I think Berrettini needs a red line. In all honesty, he needs to play some really good tennis and hope that Novak is not 100%, which he probably won't be. But the fact, or the question is, I guess, how good is he feeling and what type of level would he bring? Because he could potentially in round one play 70% or less. And then Berrettini needs to really take advantage there because it's then there for the taking. So as I said, he's going to have to come out fresh, play some really good tennis, better tennis than he's played all year. For Novak, he'll be looking to just rediscover some of that form that he had even at the Australian Open. In terms of predictions, I think I'm going to go with Djokovic, but in 3 sets, I think Berrettini will take a set. But I just don't see Berrettini causing the upset here. I'm almost hoping that he proves me wrong because even though I think with Novak, he's getting older, of course, and wins are important to him, I think with Berrettini at 28 years of age, in what should be the prime of his career, after coming back from injuries and then now starting to have a bigger run of matches, it's not really quite clicked for him. So I think he needs a couple of marquee wins to really gain that extra bit of confidence. Let me know in the comment section below who you think is going to win and why. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and we'll see you in the next video.